invocation.
Everybody stand, please. Lift your hats. Father God, thank you for tonight. Thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you for your love and your mercy and your grace. Father, I ask that you bless the library board, bless our elected officials around the parish, God. I ask that we conduct ourselves in an ethical and honest way. God, I ask that you bless the proceedings here tonight, and in your holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Michelle, the roll call, please.
Miss Becky?
Here.
Miss Kristen?
Here.
Miss Rodlin?
Here.
Miss Jennifer?
Here.
Mr. Jonathan?
Here.
Miss Sheila?
Here.
Miss Patricia?
Here.
Miss Dewana?
Here.
Mr. Trey?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Okay, we have the approval of minutes from both the February 18th special board meeting and the March 18th regular board meeting in your book.
I'll make the motion to adopt.
I'll second that.
Okay. Miss Becky? You ready? This is to, adopt the minutes. Adopt the minutes.
Oh,
You ready?
yes. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was roll call, sorry.
No,
I'm looking for what I'm supposed to be presenting. I'm going, wait a minute, I'm not up on the top of the agenda.
Miss
Okay.
Kristen? Miss Kristen?
Yes.
Miss Rodlin?
Yes.
Miss Jennifer?
Yes.
Miss Jonathan?
Yes.
Miss Sheila?
Yes.
Miss Patricia?
Yes.
Miss Dewana?
Yes.
Mr. Trey?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we're opening up the floor for public comments on agenda items. We'll also open up the floor before each specific new business item. Okay, if there's no public comments right now, we have a report from the administrative librarian.
So we were going to give you a little presentation on how, Comic-Con went and summer reading coming up. So let's do our little slideshow.
Hello, everybody. David Gray, Public Information Officer. So yeah, we just wanted to show some pictures of some stuff that happened at Comic-Con. So it was in March. We had, as you know, there was bad weather that day, so it had to be condensed to inside, but that didn't matter. The people still came. Those two kids on the outside actually wore the same outfits last year, and they came up to me because I took their pictures last year, and they begged me to take them again this year. So you got, and then they added Gwen Stacy to it this year. So just some pictures. We had 2,000 visitors this year for the second straight year, and that's slightly more impressive considering that everything was condensed inside. We had to, we couldn't have the vendors outside that we were planning on having just because of the weather, but you still had, like I said, 2,000 people. That's the Dinosaur Experience, one of the performers that we had, and they were doing pretty much shows all day long in the youth area. And they, like I said, they were booked the whole time. They were packed. Let's see, Petite Princess Company. They did the story time performances and the meet and greet. That room, the East Media Room where we had the performances, were packed all day long with these people. Waterwall Martial Arts, they did a demonstration. You'll actually see them a little bit later because they're one of our summer reading program performers this year. They're going to do a program for women on self-defense. That's something they've been offering us the last a couple times this last year, and they're doing that this summer. So another one of those demonstrations. Dinosaur Experience, like I said, educational entertainment, they've become one of the staples that we've had. Comic-Con the last 2 years, they've been there multiple times, and then summer reading, that sort of stuff. Cosplay contest, this is always the most popular thing. We had like 60-ish people in it. Those people on the right last year, that father and son, they were also in it last year. They were the characters from Up, which was really funny. So this year
They won last year, didn't they?
Yeah, they won last year, yes. and they were Fred Flintstone and Bam Bam this year, but you see all the creative costumes that people come up with. Like, this is just one of those things. This to me is the most popular thing about Comic-Con, because you got people, it's basically Halloween in the spring. They get to, dress up and get to hang out with their friends in a safe place, and then they, get to be recognized for their creativity in this. And then all-day activities we had. That balloon twisting woman is amazing. She, if any of y'all were there at Comic-Con, that line was,
Never stopped.
30 deep all day long, and she takes time with the people. She doesn't just make a dog and that's it and puts them on their way. I mean, she spends time asking them what they want, making each balloon individualized to what that person wants. I mean, she is incredible, and she don't stop. She might take a 5-minute water break in the middle of the day, and that's it. Then we had caricature artists this year, which is really cool to see. Then what other activities? Arts and crafts, we always have that. We had some big games down the hallway, and some tabletop games. And the concessions and food trucks. Those food trucks, they're signing up every time we have an event going on, because they're selling out their food within a few hours. So they've become really big supporters of this event. So that was enough from Comic-Con. Now, Readers Club, this is something that we do for adults. This is our year-long reading challenge for adults. So you just sign up and you log books. So far this year, we have over 7,000 books that were logged through April. So we're on pace. This is just from the people who are in the Readers Club. So these are the top 6 books that people have logged this year. Your Onyx Storm, Iron Flame, Fourth Wing. That series is, very. If you're a reader, you know that. The Sunrise on the Reaping. That's the next Hunger Games book. So those are, these are just some popular books that people like. These are the 6 through 12. And then we also have a monthly challenge with Readers Club. So each month has a different theme. And this is how many 578 people have completed a monthly challenge this year, which last year we had 1,100, so we're on pace to beat that by almost 600 this year. So we've been actually putting more of a focus this year on those monthly challenges. We send our patrons every month, on the first day of the month, they get an email with a list of recommendations that fit that specific theme for that month. And we're seeing a good return on that. So people are actually getting those emails. We have about almost 1,000 people who are signed up for that email that they get in their inbox every month. And then next thing, summer reading. So that's what we're about to kick off. Well, we officially kicked it off yesterday. So summer reading is on right now, and that's our website, myapl.info/summer reading, that has all the information on signing up, the different categories that you would fall under depending on your age. So it runs May 19th through August 3rd. It's all ages. And here's the different challenges. So if you're 0 to 5, to complete the challenge, you would read 10 picture books over the summer. And then youth, you're 6 to 12, you would read 3 chapter books or 180 hours of reading. This is just a way to keep, mostly for kids, because during that summer break, they might not be reading as much as they typically would during the school year, obviously. So this is a way to keep them doing that. And actually, I've been surprised this week at seeing all the schools that have been sharing our summer reading posts on social media. I've been seeing a lot of that this week, and I think it's because they're seeing the value of, hey, we want our kids to still be doing some, yeah, you want to have fun, but you still need to be doing some reading over the summer, and this is a great way to get them to do it. And then it goes through teens and then adults. And then, just some stats from last year's summer reading. 76,000 books were logged last year and by the people who participate in summer reading. That's almost 1,000 per day or 41 per hour for the whole time of summer reading. So, I mean, last year was the record-breaking year of all record-breaking years for summer reading. We had the most registrations and completions, and then the highest event attendance. I think it was like 22,000 attendance for the summer reading programs last year. And this year we expect that to hopefully, we want to keep exceeding that mark. So the kickoff day is a week from today, actually, at all 5 branches, and that's just a special day for people to come into the branches. Right now, they could just sign up at home, or they could go to their branch and do it, but on this day, they could sign up, get a kickoff prize, and also they can we have these little canvases like these little 4x4 canvases that people can paint, and they're going to be on display at every branch through the month of June. So just a little, because the theme is Color Our World, so it's a very art-focused theme for summer reading this year. So just a way to just encourage that creativity from people. Like I said, it's going to be up through all the branches that they do them at through the month of June, and they can take them home after that. And that's something for the whole family to do. Then Some of our performers we got, this is the youth performer, so Snake ID last year was probably the biggest thing that I saw ever, besides like Comic-Con or something. I mean, I remember the Denham branch, I took pictures there, was slammed, and we have 2 showings at the Denham branch this year because the turnout was so overwhelming. We had to turn people away last year, actually, for that one, and I got a lot of angry messages on Facebook last year when we had to turn people away. But this year they have 2 showings and they're going to be doing it at all the branches. Crescent Circus is a great show. Nature on the Go, they came to Bookfest this year, and they were right in here. And we've seen that these animal demonstrations and presentations are very popular because kids get to actually touch hold these animals that they might not otherwise be exposed to. Then Youth Ballet, Tri-Parish Ballet, Harvey Rabbit, they've been performing for years across the South. They're coming back. Lady Chops is another popular one. Then we have some art classes. And these are just the performers. We have, all told, there's over 300 events and performances going on during all summer reading from May 19th through August 3rd. So there is something for everyone. And then adults, these are, like I said, the wall-to-wall martial arts, they'll have that self-defense presentations for women. Then we have some floor on cooking demonstrations. Master Garden, they always come. They're great partners with us, and they do a lot of plant demonstrations, that sort of thing. And I believe that's it. So yeah, we just wanted to give y'all an update on the things that are going on in the system. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
And the only other thing that I have is that you have a condensed copy of the budget, which is just the overall, just expenses that we've done so far this year. It's just a condensed version of the regular. We have to give you a copy of this at every meeting for the legislative auditor. So we're not going over anything or adjusting anything, just for y'all to look at and see. And the only other thing that I have is that we are still in the middle of the audit. We have to have that completed by June 30th. And I talked to Margaret this morning, and she said everything's going very well, and she will be in my office on the 30th pulling the documents that she needs to complete. So we're on schedule for that. So, and that's where we are.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
All right, next we have a report of special committees for the Finance Committee Chair.
Well, we had our first official finance meeting, and it was so much fun. We reviewed and discussed several things and passed everything unanimously, so we have a good working committee. We had a lot of really strong discussion about several of the items, which is great, because everybody has their own opinion, and it was nice to have those discussions among ourselves and with the community that happened to be there that evening. Just a couple of highlights. Our administrative librarian, Ms. Michelle, brought us some general information. For example, purchasing a vehicle for the library. It's in the budget. It's already approved. She gave us information about going to the state purchasing agency, so we know how we're supposed to do it and what we're supposed to do and those kind of things, and why we needed this additional vehicle, and it passed fine. We didn't have to vote on it, but as a transparency issue, we did vote on it, just to say, yes, this committee agrees with that. It's in the budget. She did her due diligence. It's looking good. So we were real excited about that. We also discussed landscape contractors, and you can hear them out there right now. You know, it takes a lot to keep your yards up, right? So we went out into an official bid process as per the state law. Had 3 bids that came in. We went with a suggested middle bidder, which was Angelo's, who's our current landscape person. For several reasons. Ms. Michelle did her due diligence. She had a rubric that she had people score that rubric based on the criteria for the bid itself. And Angelo's scored by far the highest of those. They were not the highest bidder. They were the one in the middle. So we were pleased to go ahead and do that. And again, it was already in our approved budget. We didn't have to vote on it. She didn't have to show it to us. But we want to be very transparent with our finance committee. Another item we talked about was a bookmobile. If you read the strategic plan, you know that a bookmobile was something that was agreed upon in the community, much needed for our underserved areas. It's a real exciting feature to be able to go out into the community with this bookmobile. The one we have is a smaller one, and those with mobility issues can get on it, but it's very crowded, and you can't move about like you need to. If you're a child, you can in a wheelchair, because obviously it's gonna be smaller. And so we want to use that one for children's services, and the new one that's larger for adult services, so that our adults that are mobility impaired can get on with any kind of wheelchair, any kind of walker, and actually be able to move around and enjoy the experience of going to the library that came to them. It's also going to have a computer station in it, which is real exciting, because I don't know how many of you have had to do things such as, apply for your Medicare. When you turn 65, you got to do it on the computer. A lot of people in our rural areas don't have access. So to be able to have access to the bookmobile is a great feature. We did ask Ms. Michelle, and she had done her due diligence, to see if there are other vendors that may have the same exact features that she's wanting and that the community voted on. So she's going to come back to our next committee meeting with that as well, so we can look at that further. So we were real excited. The last thing we talked about was whether or not we wanted to have our legal counsel on retainer, or if we wanted to continue paying them on an hourly basis. And we looked at it, and traditionally, we don't use a whole lot of legal counsel. So mathematically, it did not work out to have somebody on retainer that we're paying every month, that we may not even use those services. And we might have a month that we use a lot of services, and it's going to exceed that retainer, so we'd have to pay extra. So mathematically, it comes out better to just put it in the budget and pay on an hourly basis like we've been doing. We did ask Ms. Michelle if she would break down our attorney fees and under legal, so that we can see what is the HR, because that's a separate firm than other issues, so we can see how much we want to budget for each of those categories, so that it's a little more clear to anybody looking at the budget, so you can understand. And that's how our finance meeting went. We're real excited and ready to really delve into the budget in the future.
Thank you, Patricia. All right, we had our policy committee chairs report.
All right. My report will be a little bit shorter. We had 3 items come through the policy committee. We discussed originally how we were going to handle public commenting moving forward. We have some white cards, red cards, and was it green?
Yellow, green, and red.
Yellow, green, and red. And in the future, we're just going to have a sign-up sheet. If we have a whole bunch of people, or if it's too difficult to track with just the basic sign-up sheet, we might move back to it in the future. But we think moving forward, it'll just be easier bookkeeping to have a sign-up sheet and have everybody just speak on the agenda item as it becomes on the agenda. The second 2 are, what was it, the legal. I guess the finance committee talked about this a little bit too, but we have a policy that we're going to look at tonight for the board members to get legal advice or consultation from our legal department. And then our last policy was, let's see, budgeting. Help me out, Patricia.
Committees.
What was the committees?
Yeah, how items are sent to the committees.
Oh, that's right. We're going to have items come before the committee prior to coming to the board as a full, if the item has to do with that committee. So, any questions? Awesome. Well, that's everything. Thank you.
All right, we asked Mr. Jeff Taylor to come speak to us tonight because, as you can see, our first item of business is, new business is going to be about the millage. So I know your time is valuable, so please.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Taylor. I'm the assessor here in Livingston, and I got a few calls the other day. Brother Trey actually, Brother Trey came in. I'm just going to call you Trey. Brother Trey came in and asked me a few questions. He actually threw us a curveball, because usually when you have an election, whatever happens, that becomes the millage. And I know you are discussing a few things, so he wanted to know. The way it works is, once you have an election, that year your millage is established. It goes to your maximum. So whether or not you take it or not, that's up to you, but your maximum is established at that point. So you don't have to go back to your maximum until 28, which is the next reassessment year. So you can do anything this year from 0 to 10, according to the legislative auditor. And so that's what I wanted to come in here and tell y'all. I also wanted to tell you, my mother actually, before she had me 60 years ago, she drove for the bookmobile. here in Livingston, out in the Holden area. So when you said that, that was pretty cool.
And she drove my school bus.
Was that, yes, she drove her school bus. So, but that's what I'll come to tell y'all, with your millages, you are already set. We have a rule that was set by the legislature in the Constitution, actually, way back, that for some reason, you have to go back to your maximum millage once every 4 years, or you lose that maximum. And I'm never gonna ask anybody to lose their maximum, because once that happens, you can never go back to it. So we tried a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, to pass a law that said you did not have to go back to your maximum. You could go 40 years lowering your millages every year, and if you ever did need to go back to it, you could always go back to it because that's where it was at. It failed miserably. The people of the state voted it down, and so now once every 4 years, you've got to go back to your maximum or you lose it. We're going to try again next year to bring that back. We thought this year that it could be, the amendment number 2 had so much stuff in it, it was just so confusing. But one of the components of it was that you had the ability to take that out and you wouldn't have to go back to your maximum. So that lost, people just didn't know about it. So we're going to try to do a real good job in the next couple of years of educating about the fact that if we can take that out and you don't have to go back to your maximum, let's just say you have 10 this year, that's what you voted in. If you decided every year you wanted to lower your millages, you could lower it, get it down to 5 mills, 4 mills, whatever. But if you did have something that happened and you need to go back to 10, you could. And you keep that ability. I think it's important that you keep the ability to do it. I don't think it's important that you do it every year, but I think it's important that you have the ability to do it. So that's my report on what I was asked. I will open it up to any questions for y'all and I guess audience or just y'all.
And to keep the ability to do it, since we were 2024 is when we got this 10 mills, we would have to take the 10 before 2028.
You'd have to take it before, on the new reassessment in 2028. 2028, you can take it at that year and go back up to the 10 and reestablish at that point.
Now,
But you're gonna have to do it.
My question is, we need to take the 10 so we don't lose it, because we haven't changed the law yet.
No, ma'am. Right now, you're established already because you had an election last year that put your millage at 10.
At 10.
You're established now until 28.
Right.
So right now, you can do 0
Okay.
all the way up to 10. You can't exceed 10, but you can go 0 all the way up to 10 this year for your levy. Okay?
Okay,
In
so-
28, you're gonna have to go back up to the 10 or you're gonna lose it. Whatever your max comes at that point is what it's gonna be.
So if we choose not to take the 10 this year and we choose to wait to 2028, with the tax climate the way it is now, will it cost our taxpayers more in 2028 because assessment and property values are going up? Or would it more benefit our taxpayers if we took the 10 or a higher percentage now rather than later?
That's something y'all gonna have to figure out. I can't answer that. I will tell you that history tells us that property values go up. As many of y'all know, and y'all may have even heard about this little thing last year where we had assessments went up 40%. I don't know if y'all run into that. I happen to be very aware of
the
that.
other end of that.
Yeah, the other end of it. But what a lot of people didn't realize, yes, you went up 40%, but they didn't realize that from 16 all the way through 24, I had lowered your millages a lot. I had given a COVID discount, the only assessor in the state that gave a COVID discount. So when you really look at it, you really only went up 20% over what you were in 16, but because all the other reductions fell off, you had a hit right then. So it was, I don't, unless another disaster or something happens, guys, I don't foresee that happening again, but I don't foresee things lowering either. I see property values continuing to even now with the interest rates and everything the way they are, they're still just, you know, we're not seeing a real decrease. We're seeing it in some areas, but not overall. So I can't answer what's going to happen in 3 years, but it could be. The 10 mills could certainly bring a little bit more.
We may be in the position like the 40%. It may be a huge, it may be a huge increase more than just taking a 10% at this point in time.
Well, I'm not foreseeing a 40% increase.
Right,
in
well, I'm
28,
just saying
yeah.
though, it could be a situation, we could get ourselves in that situation.
You could, I mean, theoretically, yeah, you could have values go up. If if they're selling right now for $150 a square foot and they go to 175, then yes, the assessment's gonna go up with it. I'm the only one in the parish that is obligated by law to go to the value of what it is. From there, you can either set your millage at the maximum, you can set it at a lower rate, you can set it anywhere you want to. We're having a millage meeting on June the 10th out at the sheriff's substation. I would love for y'all to come in. Y'all come in last year and spoke to what you were going to do. The reason of that millage meeting is not for me to ask you to lower your millages. That's not the point of it. I think that if you can, you should. If you can't, you shouldn't. That's for y'all to decide. The point of this is for you to come in and explain it to the constituents that show up. Because what happens a lot of times, or all the time, it's not a lot of times, is tax notices go out in November. Everybody comes to the assessor's office and they want to know why their taxes are so high. The only thing that I do is put a value on your property. So if you come to my office and you say my house is worth $150,000 and I've got you on for $140,000 to $160,000, me and you're okay. Okay? If your taxes are too high, it's because the entities have to put the taxes on that the people voted on. So, and that's where it gets to where y'all. So it doesn't matter to me. I just would like for y'all to come in and talk to the public and tell them what you're planning to do. And I'm gonna tell you, I think we did a real good job this past year of really getting the word out. We had billboards, TV, we bought commercials. We spent a lot of money making sure that people were aware that this increase was coming. And I think people were very appreciative of the fact that we gave them some heads up. If we would have just waited to December, it would have been a disaster. And so we felt like that they needed to know. And so last year at our board meeting, a lot of the districts, because it was a 40% increase, a lot of them lowered their millages. Now, because of the way the law is, they're gonna have to go back up to that maximum. You're in a unique situation, but most of them are gonna have to go back up to that maximum. So the other day I saw that I supposedly said that everybody's taxes are going back up. What I said was there's a potential that if everybody raises their millages back up to the maximum, then yes, you could have an increase in taxes. I don't know what they're gonna do. I haven't had any of the districts tell me what they're gonna do, nor should they tell me what they're gonna do until they make their decision. Because I don't want anybody to think that ever that I'm there to influence anything. If you have questions, I will always come to your meeting, but I'm not here to answer any questions about your millages or your budget. That's not my place. But I will tell y'all that some of the things that you were talking about a few minutes ago about buying a car, we've had to do that a lot in our office. If you need any help with that, call me, call my office. We will tell you how we do it. And I'm here for information, so if you need it, please feel free to call us. Come sit down and have coffee with us, and Brother Trey does that probably 3 or 4 times he's come over there. You'd be amazed at how much information you can get just by asking. Okay? Anything else?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Assuming that we do have a 10% increase in property value next year, does
Okay.
that mean the library board will get 10% additional revenue from the property tax?
When you
Or
say
is it
next
a-
year, you're talking about next reassessment?
Correct.
28? All right, so let's say that you get 10%. We'll use that number because it makes it real easy. That means that you basically went up 2.5% per year, so it'd come up
Sure.
to 10%. Now, I know you've got to do the compound and all that stuff, but just make it easy, it's 10%. Could, but what you need to understand is that just because assessments go up 10%, you could bring in more money, your millage could, because your first 75,000 is homestead, okay? So let me give you an example. If I've got you assessed this year at $100,000, and I'm gonna make my math real easy, okay? I'm just gonna say it goes to 125,000. Your taxes your assessment only went up 25%, correct? But your taxes went up 100%, because your first 75,000 is homestead.
Sure.
You don't start counting it till 75,001, so that's 25,000 up to 100, and if I go up to 125, it doubled, okay? So my percentage is totally different than what you're gonna actually get. So, we're not getting 20, everybody calm, we're not getting 25%, so I just used it for math. I'll be in the paper again, so Ms. Tom, go ahead and just write it out there and I'll sign it. But it's important that you understand that those numbers that I have are not necessary. Now, it would be true if you didn't have homestead. If I went up 25, it would go up, you would double, you would get whatever. So, you just have to watch it and see. We always try to get you the numbers by around the first part of June, so you will know what you're gonna have coming in. Now, we've got error factors in there that can come into play, but we usually take account into that and give you pretty accurate numbers. I'm sorry, April the 30th, we get our number. We try to get y'all sometime in May. We get your numbers of what you're gonna have. I said June. So I'm gonna try to get those out a little bit earlier, but we run into the problem of public service. They didn't get them to us until the very last day. And so it's impossible for us to get that for you at that point. So therefore, you know, the statute actually says that you're supposed to have your meetings before June. Well, that's impossible because when the public service and the tax commission not get the numbers to you. So it's always extended. It's 50 years it's been there, so we don't actually pay that attention. We're trying to get that moved up because it helps y'all with budgeting and you're not all crowded in. You know, when we get you here and all of a sudden you've just got your numbers and you're trying to have a meeting, well, you haven't had a real chance to really study your budget. You're trying to do the best you can, but you haven't had that time. So I'm gonna try to see if we can't speed the tax commission up a little bit and some of the other entities to move them up.
Mr. Jeff, could you also speak a minute on maybe how growth also brings in, like, for example, if we're collecting 8 meals right now, and that last year, and it collected $7 million, that same 8 meals this year could collect more than that due to
Growth.
population.
Yeah,
growth.
so it's interesting that when you have a reassessment means exactly what it says, reassessment. So that means that everything is there, you reassess, and then you've got the growth, okay? You can't reassess something that wasn't there before. You can assess it, but you can't reassess it. So every 4 years, we have the reassessment for everything that's on the rolls, and then we have that year, you also have growth. So if anything that came in that year, so every year, you have a little bit of growth, like Brother Trey's saying. You have 8 meals this year, it brought in $1 million. Well, this year is gonna bring in that $1 million off of what was there, and then if we had growth of 10%, it brings in the 8 meals off of that growth also. So you actually have a growth every year. I know that you have people that would tell you, well, we can't keep it the same because we have growth. We take that into account. And now sometimes it keeps up with inflation, sometimes it doesn't. A few years ago, inflation was, what, 8, 9, 10%? Our growth wasn't keeping up with that. Now it's like 1.5%, 2.5% is what in this area. So we're kind of keeping up, the growth is keeping up with that. So you just have to look at all the numbers. And look, to me, looking at numbers is fun. I like numbers. As much as y'all like library books and everything like that, I like numbers. I just, if I'm driving down the road and I see that I've got 50 miles to go, I figure up how long it's gonna take me to get there in my head, and I'm doing all, I just love numbers. So for me to sit there and look at a budget and everything, it's not a problem. If you've never done it before, it becomes a problem, okay? So I encourage y'all, if y'all need us, I've got a staff that is willing to jump right in there and help you. Look at things, tell you what you're going to get, tell you what we're expecting our growth to be. We can tell you that sometimes around February, what the growth was. And then, of course, again, we got to wait on certain things. You got to wait on public service. But all of that information is available. We're an open book. We just, you don't have to do a public records request for me. You can. But if you want the information, just come in and ask me for it. Because I don't feel like that's Jeff Taylor's office. I feel like it's the people of Livingston Parish. That's cliche, and everybody says, oh, that's politics. No, that's the way it is. You come over to my office, have I ever denied you anything when you come in? Have I ever made you do a public records request? Nope. I said, you want it, here it is. So I think that's the way you've got to be. If you're open and transparent like that, they can say what they want to say, but when it gets down to the fine print and everything, there's nothing to, you can't hide it. It's all gonna be in there in your audit, and it's gonna come out. What you do in secret is coming out, I promise you. So, just come down there and ask us questions. I'd be more than happy for y'all to come down as a group. If y'all wanna come down one day, and we can sit in the, little meeting room, and I can show y'all how we do our process. I don't expect y'all to do that, because y'all probably got things to do. But if y'all ever wanna do it, I would be more than happy to let you do it.
Quick question, when you say
Yes, ma'am.
growth, what are you referring to? You mean more?
New houses, new businesses, new public service. Public service is things like cable companies, help me out, towers, railroads, things like, it can be a large group of things. Don't have a lot of public service growth unless a new company comes in, but you do have a lot of growth. I mean, we're trying to keep up with it. One of our problems right now is just keeping up with the municipalities and the permit office sending us information, making sure they send it to us. Because the way it works, the last person they're gonna call when they go to build a house, who y'all think the last person they're gonna call? Me. Okay, because they think they get it back. We've got all kind of flyovers now. We do, every 3 or 4 years we do flyovers. We've got drone programs that we're working on. But I've got 7, 8 guys that work out in the field. You've got a pretty good pair. If you ever tried to drive from Marpaw up to Live Oak, it's gonna take you an hour. So you imagine all the homes and everything being built for businesses, and you're not getting the permits in a timely manner, you know, because of several things. They got busy, anything can fall through the cracks. So they've done, Mr. DeLadd and President Ricks before, they really started working on that. The municipalities are really, really working on it, because it's their growth that we're missing out on if we don't have it, and if we don't pick it up for 2 years, well, that's not good. It don't look good on TV. When somebody comes in and says, well, you're giving breaks to these people, it's not giving breaks, it's just that I don't know who's building that house, and I gotta go try to find it. So the best way for me to do that is permits. And so we're doing that, and so we're getting some growth. But we're noticing that we were having a little bit of a slowdown in our transfers, which meant that the sales and everything was going on there. But we actually noticed in the last 2 weeks, we noticed, of course, that could be in the school year, and all of a sudden, people want to move to different schools, or they want to move into the parish and everything, so they're buying. So we have that. So, yeah, that's what we mean by growth. All new stuff.
So, and Jeff, but that growth also means that our services grow too. So that is, you know, the need for either at one point going back to the 10 or keeping your millage to where, you know, we can actually give services.
I try to say that's a very good point. I try to tell people that you talk about your big four in the parish would be your sheriff, your parish, your school board, and your fire. Okay, that's your big four. And I tell people all the time, you got to realize they cannot stay stagnant, because if they do, they're behind. This gentleman over here, he needs new equipment all the time. You see all the stuff he's got. I come in here and I've got a jacket on, got a shirt, and got pants and everything. He's got all of that stuff that's going to keep him safe. When it keeps him safe, it's going to keep us safe. So that costs money. And they're driving around in their cars all day, every day, and that's fuel. The biggest cost for the sheriff's office is fuel. So when fuel goes up to $4 or something like deal, they're going to have an increase in their budget. So you got to be careful when you say you want to stay stagnant. And I understand how villages work. We want to keep it right here, but sometimes they have to adjust it. Now, I will tell you that when you run into somebody like, I'm going to use me because I'm not saying anything about any other district, but the assessor's office, I don't need 8.52 meals, okay? And so mine are going to be 7 meals again this year. I'm keeping mine stagnant at 7 meals. I'm fortunate that I've got 2 millages that are set by the legislature. And the reason they're set by the legislature is there's nobody, how many of y'all want to move the tax with the tax assessor? Anybody want to give me a code for anything? You give me something. So nobody's going to pass one, so the legislature sets ours into place. So mine is 6 meals, 6.52 meals and 2 meals, okay? So every year, I'm able to lower it a little bit more because I took last year and I took one of my villages, I raised it up to the maximum. I took the other one and lowered it all the way as far as I could to make it 7 meals. I lost 1.52 meals, which would turn out to be right at $1.1 million. So I gave it back. I could have took it because because the law says I can, but I didn't need that money, so therefore I gave it back. I think that a lot of the districts can do that. It depends on what your budget comes into. And so I'm able to this year, take the one that I lowered all the way down, I take it up to the maximum, take the other one lower down, so I still have 7 meals, and that way both of mine are now established at maximum, okay? So I have, so next year, I can come down even better. So if everything continues to go the way it is now, I may be less than 7 meals next year. I won't tell you that I am gonna be, because I'm gonna look at my budget. The one thing that I learned a long time ago is you can either be a statesman or you can do political, okay? And if you're political, you're going to sit there and do the things that you're scared of him, or you're scared of her, or you're scared. If you do the right thing, most of the time you're going to be okay. Okay? If you do the political thing, you're gonna find yourself in a political situation. Okay? I read something over at Channel 9 one day. It said, don't do what you want to do. Do what you're supposed to do until what you're supposed to do becomes what you want to do. Then you always get to do what you want to do. So it's just, take all that little part out and say, do the right thing. Do the right thing. And if you do that, these people are going to be happy with you. Y'all going to be happy. So anytime y'all want to come down, we have coffee, we have water, we have Cokes. And if y'all let me know in time, I'll cook you. So let me know what y'all want to do.
I'll see you tomorrow, Jeff.
Yes.
Any other questions? Any of y'all have any questions? Okay, I'm heading toward that.
Real quick, and just to confirm,
I
I know, you knew it, you know.
I said both of them, look at you, and you. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm
Just to
coming you.
confirm, each district, including the library, has till September 15th to report our levy to you.
Yeah, you can go all the way up into September. It changes, but I think it's September 15th. Our books are going to be open, usually, our books are open somewhere in August the 15th through the 30th, but you can still levy after. I don't know the exact date, but you can still levy after. Look, guys, I'm going to tell y'all something. It's important that you check your millage. Yeah, it makes a lot of work, not millage, I'm sorry, your assessment. It makes a lot of work for our office down there. But I check my assessment every year. I check my mother's assessment every year because I have people that are inputting this information. And I can tell you, if your house is supposed to be $125,000 and they get their fingers mixed up and they put $215,000, it's going to make a difference. And the law says that once I have my books open and they close August the 29th, I don't have to make any changes. It's your responsibility. Now, we're never going to do that. We're always going to make the changes because human error happens. But I think it's important that you look at it. And another thing that's important, all we do is we go to the outside of the house. We look at the outside. I don't come inside your house. I don't go outside. I don't know what your walls are. I don't know if you got a cracked slab. I don't know if you got ceiling tiles falling in or your ceiling's all, I don't know those things. And so people get mad and say, well, I've got this much I got to do on my house, and I got a cracked slab, I got to raise it on it. All of those things affect your assessment because it's what you can sell it for. I may have it assessed at $200,000, and that's what everything in the area is assessed for, and it's running. But if you're the one that's got the cracked slab and your walls are all cracked all the way down and everything, you can't get $200,000 for your home. So then I've got to set a value for it. So I would always check my assessment every year.
All right, Mr. Taylor, I have a question about, you said it's September what?
I think it's September 15th. And
Okay, I have a question about that because I was looking at the LLA documents and they were referring to Revised Statute 47-1705, which said June 1, and then September was just for St. Charles Parish. So is there a
June 1,
different?
We always let it go. That's what I said a few minutes ago.
Okay, so no matter what the revised statute says, you let it go
I let
until?
it go because we don't get the numbers and everything in time from all the.
Yeah, because it said May 1.
Yeah, we don't get them. We're sitting there waiting for public service, and I can't give you a budget for public service. I come out and give you a budget, and all of a sudden public service lose $10 million. But that's going to affect you immensely. So we just go past that. We say, okay, yes, June the 1st is when you're supposed to do it. But for 50 years, we have never did anything like that. We say, you let us know. Don't go past September. We try to do it like all the other ones. That one parish you're talking about.
St.
We'll
Charles.
let you go for them. Because last year we had people that, districts that went into September, and we always let you do it. And then, now after we do our board review and all that stuff, and we get to that date, that's set at that point. And you've got to, the big thing is you've got to on last year, didn't advertise correctly when you had to take the adjusted millage, because the legislative auditor is going to send us your maximum, and then they're gonna send us your adjusted. We then ship it over to y'all, and then you have to then put it in the paper, and you have your meeting and everything. So make sure you do your advertising correctly, because once it gets to a certain point, I can't let it go any further, because if you go past, I think, Michelle, you would know, that you got to advertise twice, and you got the 30 days.
Yep.
And something like that.
Yep.
Those are the rules. So you got to do it in your journal of record, with the journal of records of Jones Springs News in Livingston Parish. And so you've got to do it there every Thursday, so you got.
And the advocate because of this,
And
the
because of,
Advocate, you
and
can't
that's
say
where we
twice.
messed up, was the
Yeah,
advocate, yeah.
That's right. So you got to.
Mr. Taylor, can you speak into the mic, because
I can.
people at home
Oh.
can't hear you?
Oh, yeah. So, anyway,
Thanks.
I get nervous when I got to speak into the mic.
You're doing great, Kevin.
But anyway, yes, I'll let that go. And look, the legislative auditor has always let it go, because we tell them, we're not getting our numbers in time, and they say, just, we can't go into December. You can't, because we got to get a rollout. As long as I've got time to get my numbers in, get them approved, and get back, they don't have their meetings until September, a lot of times over at the tax commission to approve the roll. So as long as we're getting them in by then, they'll let us go. And now if they ever change that, I'll have to call y'all and say, look, you have to, but to do that, I'm gonna have to be fair with y'all and say, wait a minute, y'all, I didn't get them the numbers to April 30th, and we're trying to get them to do a budget before June the 1st. They gotta advertise their meeting. They don't even know what they're looking at in their budget. That's not fair. And so we take that into account for you.
You mentioned a while ago the big four in Livingston Parish. What were they?
I just call them the big four. I don't necessarily think that anybody else does, but your school board is a big one with a lot of millages. Your sheriff's office has a big millage. Your fire departments, when you look at all of them, they have a big millage. And parish.
I missed our fire department.
Yeah, the parish. And the thing about fire departments is you gotta be careful with, everybody wants you to lower your millages, but if you lower them too much and they lose their rating, you pay more in fire insurance than you do for the millage. So you gotta be careful with all that. And I'm gonna tell y'all, I would much rather my sheriff's office, if somebody's breaking into my house, I'd much rather them get to me in 5 minutes than 30.
That's right.
And so, because once I get to 30, but 5 minutes, you may have a problem, but you gotta have some lead time. So anything else? Nobody has any other questions? No? I'm gonna tell y'all that my wife tells me all the time, she said, you may have the most boring job I've ever been associated with. So I like it, and so, again, yes, sir.
I'm just curious, and it might be a hard number to know off the top of your head, you want to do some calculations to get it, but do you know, like, on average, how much the rollback from last year, like, with all the different bodies rolled back, how much that kind of saved the average homeowner?
Well, I can tell you that when you got through, and it's hard to tell you that because, see, like Walker, the school board in Walker, it's a district, so it didn't go parish-wide. On the parish-wide, not a lot, but in each individual district, I know that North Park lowered their millages like 4 mills. Library lowered theirs 2.5. So when you add all those up, library's parish-wide. North Park, on the other hand, is district. So if you live in Livingston, you don't have anything over at North Park. So an overall bill, when we added everything into, and we tried to pull each area, Albany, Livingston, all those, but it saved, I think we went down a total of all districts and everything included, I think we went down a total of about 17 meals. And you say, well, that's not that much when you got 100. Well, then you can keep paying 125, or you can pay 108. But 108 is going to make a large difference. So I don't know exactly all the numbers, but if you ever want to call, I can pull yours up, and I can say, okay, in your area, this is how much your millages went down, this is what you should have been paying, and this is what you did now. I'll do that for you.
Because I just, is that, if we're talking about 0.5 or 1 mils per one entity, let's say the library lowers it, is that $5 we're saving somebody a year, or is that, $50 we're saving
Well,
somebody a year? What that means long term.
on a $125,000 home, if you take the homestead out, that means your taxable value is $50,000. Okay. everything in Livingston, everything in the state is only 10%, so that 50,000 becomes 5,000. And you take the 5,000 and you times by 125 meals, whatever that is, I'm not doing it on top of my head, but you do that number, and then you take that same 5,000 and times it by 108 meals, and you see what the difference is, and you kind of see what you say. But if you do want to call, and we'll give you specific.
Last summer you had all those, meetings for all the taxing districts came. Is that like an every year thing, or is that every 4 years?
We just started that last year. That was the first time. I'd been working on that for years and really didn't get a lot of excitement about having a parish-wide millage meeting. And then last year it kind of came together, and we had several of the districts showed up. And now, it's important that you know, I'm having a parish-wide millage meeting on June the 10th, that the public is invited to come to the sheriff's station June the 10th. On June the 12th, I'm having my millage meeting. You can come to it if you want to, but I'm telling y'all now, I'm going to set
Explain to them how some of them are already gonna be set. Explain to them how some of the villages will already be set by the time this meeting transpires.
Some of them are going to already have had their meetings. Some of them set them early this year. Most of them usually set them July, August, September, but this year, a few of them have them in May. But yeah, this is going to be our second year. I've tried to put this together for several years because I thought it was important. Because when the tax notices go out, everybody, like I said a while ago, they run down to my office, and it's green. And it's not our office that's done anything. So, we set up a millage meeting so the districts can come in and talk about their budget. I'm gonna tell you, she did a wonderful job last year to come in and talk about the budget. It's not easy to sit there in front of people. I will tell you this, how many of y'all were at the millage meeting last year? 2. Okay, we had 10 people show up at a parish-wide millage meeting last year.
At the sheriff's office.
At the sheriff's station.
Yes.
We had 10 people. Well, this year I'm hoping to have a few more, because it's important that you explain to people what your budget is. Not me, because people come and say, why did the library do this? I don't know. You need to call them. I don't know why they do what they do, because that's their budget. That's why we have a board. We have a library board. It's their responsibility. It's not just their responsibility to even ask you what you're going to do. As a citizen, I can say, Jennifer, what are y'all going to do? But how many of y'all think that when I come into a meeting like this, I'm a citizen or I'm the assessor? Everyone I go into, I'm the assessor. Don't matter how much I try to be a citizen, I'm the assessor. So if I started showing up at y'all's meetings every time you have a meeting, and I sit right there, every time you make a decision, I go, am I the assessor or am I somebody intimidated? Okay? So I try not to do that. Try not to come into your meetings at all. That's your responsibility. Yes, ma'am?
What time's your meeting on again?
6. And again, my meeting for my villages is going to be on the 12th at 10 o'clock in the morning. But mine's going out, you can come, you can have coffee, I can have pastry, y'all just let me know.
The June 10th is where and when?
June the 10th is at the sheriff's station between Satsuma and Walker, where the sheriff's training center is. That's where it'll be at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
And that's for all of the
That's for
taxing-
anybody.
The taxing entities?
Everybody's been invited.
Everybody's
Everybody, well, all the parish-wise. You have a small fire district, Koyo, where I grew up, okay? If nobody from Koyo comes into that meeting, they're just talking to the wall. That's not helping. So it's more for the parish-wise, so they can come and explain, because everybody you talk to in there is a constituent. Okay, so that's why we try to do that. But everybody has been invited. I've invited everybody. Okay? Anything else?
We thank you for your time, Mr.
Yes,
Taylor.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're good.
Just, if y'all have any questions, please come down. I'd love to see y'all, I would love to see y'all get involved in some of these things so people really know that we're transparent. We want to be transparent. We want you to know what's going on. Okay? So, nothing else.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so we're starting with new business. The first up, obviously, is the millage rate resolutions for the acceptance of the library parish library ad valorem tax millage rate approved by voters November 18, 2023, beginning in fiscal year 2025. And that's presented by Michelle Parrish.
As Jeff said, this is our renewal year. This is the year that our new millage starts. So it'll be your decision as to what, y'all some of y'all called and asked what we thought the millage should be, or where we expect it to go. Of course, we would like the whole 10 mills. We have plans. We have a future strategic plan that we would like to look at, and we do have a lot of expenses coming through. I sent Jennifer, and I know she forwarded that out to y'all, all the expenses that we have going out through 2033, and there are some that are not even on there yet. We are changing that. That was started by the previous administration, and we're finishing up some of the stuff that they had and adding more to it. So you have an idea of what's coming up: roofs, HVAC, computers. Two of the branches still have to be recarpeted. Painting will be coming up. Those are things that need to be added to that too. So, y'all have any questions for me about it, or?
All right, let's do public comment.
Yep.
President would like to speak in support, Mara Elsie.
Okay, hello, I'm Marla Elsie, I'm from Denham Springs. I had a prepared statement based on the assumption that someone's gonna want to try to go lower than 10%. I'm assuming somebody here is gonna wanna do that, or possibly even lower than the 7.53 mil that it is currently at. I did wanna toss out a couple of extra things beforehand though, and that was something I was thinking about that Ms. Michelle mentioned, and that is that growth in this parish might mean more money coming in, but it also means more demand on this system. They need more workers, they need more content, they need more hours. It's gonna put a drain on this system that needs to be supported with the money. So, here's what I was gonna say. If you ask this community what they value, they will tell you time and time again. They value their schools and their libraries. People move out here for the schools and libraries. They prove it not just with words, but with their votes. And for decades, this parish has renewed the school and library millages, even when other taxes fail. That's not a fluke, it's a mandate. And every time the library surveys its patrons, the message is just as clear. They want more. They want more access, more programming, more branches closer to home, more hours. You remember when we could go to the library on Sundays? That doesn't happen anymore. People aren't asking us to shrink the library, they're asking us to grow it. And yet every time the millage comes up for discussion, what we hear from leadership is the opposite. Cut it back, do less, tighten your belt. But why? That's not what the constituents want. If they wanted less, they would have said so at the ballot box, like they've done with some other millages, but they didn't. They said yes over and over and over again for 30 years. To reduce this millage now would be to ignore the will of the people. It's not fiscally responsible, it's politically convenient. And it's a disservice to the families and the students and the job seekers and the lifelong learners who depend on this library. So I urge you, listen to what the community has asked for, support the library and what they believe in, and fully fund the services that the people count on. It'd be a great year to go to 10 because, as Ms. Becky mentioned, 10 today is going to be less of a hardship on people than it will be 10 in 2028 or whatever, because then properties will just cost more. So, thank you.
President, and would like to provide unbiased information for the yellow card, Summer Smith.
David, you're running our timer?
Yes, I'm running the
Okay,
timer.
just making sure. I didn't ask.
Summer Smith, 31210 Dan Pearson. I filled out the yellow card because there was so much calamity on the agenda. But yeah, we just really want y'all to be honest with the taxpayers, because some of us did vote for the library tax, but we don't agree with some of the stuff that's being spent. The strategic plan was turned out for obvious reasons. So we just really want you guys to be honest with the taxpayers, like Mr. Jeff said. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
In support, would like to speak, Mandy Jo Pickering.
Good afternoon, I'm Mandy Jo Pickering. I live in Watson. I think we're still supposed to say that. I live within walking distance, actually, of the Watson Branch Library, and it's one of the great joys of my life to be able to walk with my kids down the street to the library. And I just want to say that I voted for the 10 mil. I support the 10 mil. And last year on my tax assessment that we got, the library cost me at 7.53
personally, right, from my actual tax documents, just under $195. For comparison, I've saved just in 2025, according to my library receipt from physical checkouts, we've saved $2,983.54. And so, as someone who uses the library with my 2 small kids weekly, I would much rather pay slightly more on my tax documents than have to pay for the $3,000 that I would have spent otherwise to use the same services. So, thank you.
In opposition, will provide information request to Larry Davis.
I'll take the first one, David.
We'd like to speak to Larry Davis.
Good afternoon, Board. Thank you, Madam Chairman, for the opportunity to speak. I think it's essential. I said it while I sat on this board and some of the members of the board that I served with. Sometimes you have to make some hard decisions. Hard decisions we see are happening nationwide in multitudes of facets. And buying more in an economic crisis is not wisdom, it's not conservative spending, it's not wise spending. We have to look at necessities. And as the assessor said, if you do not need it, why take it? Why manipulate the numbers to make it seem as if you need it when you don't necessarily need it? We took a challenge to lower the millage 2.5 meals, brought to us by a parish councilman. We agreed with him at the time. The board worked, and we decided to lower it even more. None of the lights shut down here. Nothing ended. Comic-Con still went on. You have to make some of those decisions so that the community members and residents who live here, including renters, don't have to have their property taxes or their rentals or anything like that go up. A bookmobile is not essential. It's not necessary. We don't have public transportation in this parish, and it's not up to you to legislate things just for other people. Baton Rouge has it. St. Tammany does not have public transportation. Orleans has public transportation. We have to look at necessities, and it's not up to the library board to spend money on things that are not pertaining to the library board. And one of the other things that I would caution and ask this board to look into is the legality of it. One thing that me and Michelle had some hard conversations about was when the voters voted on that tax, it said to construct, maintain, and acquire. Ballet performances is not construction. Bookmobiles is not maintaining or acquiring. That is outside the scope of what the voters voted on. Maintaining means custodial, patching up, doing work like that. Acquiring means to buy land in order to build a new library. That may be included, constructing, but ballet services, snake IDs, that's not what the voters in earnest voted for. So please don't manipulate that. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
In support, do not wish to speak to Larry McAllister. In support, would like to speak to Jordan Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, Board. Jordan Gonzalez, resident of Denham Springs. I tried to plan something to talk about, but I was a little confused on the item as well, trying to figure out if you're going to raise or lower it. So I'll just speak from this. Personally, I would love if y'all were to bring it up to 10. I think it's very, good thinking. If you can find room in the budget and you can lower it like y'all did last year to 7.53. I think that's cool. But I think some key things that we need to remember here is this was voted on by the voters, got more than 50% of the vote. So this is the will of the voters. They want it to be 10. I think it's very awesome that even though the voters wanted 10, they're okay with 10. This board and Michelle came together and said, okay, well, what room can we find and really cut back? At the end of the day, when you buy property in a community, when you're paying property tax, what that is an investment, right? You're investing in the long-term future of this community. I think, coming out of a bad economic time, we have in our mindset very short-term thinking, very reactionary thinking. In reality, when in hardships like that, what we need to do is look long-term. So when you're talking about the benefits of a library, benefits of a bookmobile, right? You mentioned earlier how a new bookmobile, might be able to give internet access to people who are 65 and older, people who are, retired in our community, who may not have access to the internet and have those tools. Giving them those tools means that they're better off. It means that people in our economy are better off. That means more people are spending, more people are saving, more people are investing. That's good, you know. So when you talk about even, you know, the big four, you know, a library, much like a school, fights poverty directly, right? Giving access to reading, getting access to computers. Personally, I had a computer go down over the last couple months. I haven't been able to afford to fix it. I'm paycheck to paycheck. But I pay for my library, and I've been able to come to the library and still get work done and still do everything I need to do. And that's incredible. That means that I can still make money and I can still do my job. I can still do, you know, live my life. And that's the way across the board. You know, when I was in there, I was seeing people building resumes with a librarian. I think that's incredible. All these things, again, it's long-term investment. So as much as, you know, look, I think 10 meals would be great, but if y'all can find it at least somewhere between where you already rolled it back to, you know, up to 10, that means good long-term investment in our community. Libraries are important, just like firefighters, just like police. We have to have these things. So that's all I have. I really appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
In support, would like to speak for Ann Smith.
Well, Jordan actually said a lot of things I was going to say. I teach here in the parish, and I know some of you are retired teachers, and you know this parish is low income. A lot of people in this parish don't have any money, and the library is a public good. And you can come here and you can check out books. You don't have to buy them. You can check out movies. You don't have to buy them. When I actually worked at the public library for years, and people, you know, they had a VCR, and not a VCR, I'm sorry, a DVD player, because they didn't have Hulu and Netflix, and they couldn't afford cable, but they would come and they would check out literally 20 videos for them and their families to watch all week. So I personally would appreciate, you know, I have money and I can afford, I don't mind paying the taxes for those who don't have, is what I'm trying to say. So I would, huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. All right, do the board members have comments?
I do. If I understood what he said, we will need to take the 10 or lose it by 2028. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that what you understood? That's my
Once
question
by
to you guys.
Once by 2028.
Once
Just
by
once.
2028. Is that the way y'all understood that?
Yes.
Yeah, I also understood that all we have to do is raise it to as high as what we want it to lock in that. So if we wanted to go to 9.8, we would have 9.8 as our highest if we're willing to lose the 10, right? 9.8 is just a random number. Just
Right.
anything
No,
below 10, we would freeze at
I
that
wanted
top.
clarification because I wanted to make sure that in our due diligence, that as we're trying to, as some of the people said, give our public what they want. And as a retired teacher, I absolutely see the need in this parish. We have a great need in this parish for this service. And you know, so we need to think about, you know, do we want to lose it? Do we want to go down to 9 point, whatever, what did you say, just say?
Just
John?
whatever number,
Yeah,
9.8.
Yeah, 9.8 or
9.6,
something.
Mhm.
And, you know, and that's all, you know, up for discussion, but I just wanted to make sure that we think, you know, future-wise, you know, where we want to head with this.
Yeah. My biggest concern is the record inflation that we've had over the past couple of years. I think a lot of people are making the same amount of money that they were making a couple of years ago. Hardly anybody's getting a raise, and yet the cost of everything is going up.
Absolutely.
With my personal company, the tariffs that were just put on everything has raised the price of material by 15 to 20% just in the past 2 months. And I know that that's not just happening in the roofing industry, that's happening everywhere. So I really think this year would be a terrible year to raise it to 10. So at the appropriate time, I'd like to move to maintain the current, what is it, 7.53 that we're charging now.
But will it cost the public more money between 2025 and 2028? It's going to cost the people more money. We're just postponing the injury?
I think we have to let the income catch up to the record inflation that we've had before we raise taxes on people.
But we didn't put in 10 mills, did we?
We did not.
No, the voters, the voters of this parish put it at 10 mills.
I would like to say something. The 10 mil tax that was voted on November 2023 on the ballot said that that 10 mills will collect approximately $6.8 million. I didn't read the whole thing, but it's 6.8414068, but $6.8 million. Our budget this year, expenditures, is actually approximately 7.1 million. Today, that same 10 mills would collect $9,509,673. So that 10 mills, when they voted on it, everybody voted on it, all of us, if we voted, was 6.8 million, and now a 10 mil is 9.5 million. That's $2.7 million more money from the people of this parish. And we have, again, we have operated, this library has operated, well this year at that 7.53. And so I think that it is crucial that we do everything that we can to keep it at 7.53, knowing that there even is the possibility of growth money that's coming into play. Ultimately, I think on it, and my ultimate opinion is it probably needs to be tabled for several reasons. Number one, I've been even kind of aggravated with a lot of taxing districts, not just us, setting their millages before they go to the assessor's June 10th meeting and explaining to the people what they're gonna do. And so that's one reason. Number two, I think that we're doing things backwards. We're saying, all right, we're gonna take 9 million. Now, finance committee, y'all go figure out where we can spend that money. That's backwards. We ought to be saying, all right, finance committee, give us a budget, and we're gonna adopt the mills according to the budget. That's honorable to the people, and I think that. So I think we're doing backwards in a way. I think a lot of government entities do it backwards, and so I think it needs to be tabled, sent to the finance committee, and I know there's a lot of concern about, regardless of what we do, what's the parish council going to come back and do, and so it gives them the opportunity to, if they want to have their insight, to come to our finance team and help prepare the budget and send the budget to the board the best that we can. Obviously, I know September 15th, you only have 7-8 months of your year spent to try to get an accurate number for next year, but should be able to get pretty close.
When you vote on a millage for a 10-year millage, do you expect it to stay at 6.8 million?
Well,
right?
Inflation does not. I mean, eggs
that's
don't
what
stay,
cars
don't
you
stay
said
there.
that, and then I'm
Right.
thinking, wait a
Everything
minute.
goes up.
When I
Everything
vote
goes up,
on a
yeah.
millage, I'm not expecting in 10 years for it still to be 6.8 million.
But 40%. 40%.
Either way, when you vote on a millage, and you're voting on a 10-year millage,
And they also voted for the library to operate, to function, to run. It didn't necessarily say we had to take all 10 mills. The public voted for the library to operate, to do its business, and we have done that at 753.
Did you intend to make a motion? To table?
I'll make a motion to table the levying of
So
our.
is that a substitute motion?
Did you make one?
At the appropriate time, I moved to keep the rate
okay.
the same, so.
So I'm
All
saying
right,
we
we'll
don't have a
take-
main motion down yet.
No, well, yeah, we could take his motion.
Okay.
My motion was to maintain the current percentage for the mills.
Wait, was there a second?
Do I have a second? Anybody?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Got a motion and a second on the table. We need to call
Yes,
for a
we need
vote.
roll call.
And does Trey need to make his substitute motion
No,
now?
no, we'll vote on that, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll vote on that.
All right, Ms. Becky? To keep it as is.
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Roland?
No.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Ms. Sheila?
No.
Ms. Patricia?
No.
Ms. Dewana?
Yes.
Mr. Trey?
Yes.
63.
2, 3, 4. 5. So you have 5 no's.
Five yeses.
Yeah,
Five
5 yeses,
yeses.
I'm sorry. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 no's. Yeah, 6-3. Thank you.
6-3.
So the motion carries?
Yes.
All right, this moves it on to the.
It's actually 6 yeses and 3
Council.
6 and 3.
6 and 3.
I'm confused, was that to keep it at 10?
No, to keep it at 7.
Keep it where we are.
7-5.
7-5.
No matter what, though, the parish council has the final say. So even if we all would have said 9.8, they could have just vetoed it and knocked it back down anyway. Huh?
I think they'll be proud of y'all splitting it.
What this does is it just kicks the can down the road for the 10
Yeah,
mills.
it just means
and
at some point it's
that's
gonna
something we're
cost the
gonna have to
taxpayers
address.
more money now. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next item on our agenda, by Patricia and Jonathan, discussion of a policy change to amend Code 2202, Organization and Bylaws for Board of Control.
And can we bring
I'm
this
sorry,
up on
can
the,
you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry, can we please have quiet in the audience so that everybody can hear? And I know that y'all might can hear because we're yelling at you, but side to side, it's difficult. Jonathan and Patricia will be presenting a policy change to amend Code 2202, Organization and Bylaws for Board of Control. And David, you've got that up for us
Is that the one you want, John?
with the changes?
yes. All right. The first change was something I believe Dustin had mentioned to us. We actually changed the definition of a quorum to something that matched one of the revised statutes that he found. I don't have the address for the revised statute on me, but.
It's right down there.
Oh, there we go, at the bottom, okay. So we just wanted to change the language to be the same as state law. Let's see, if you go down to the next change, we added members after staff, and then we added number 4, individual board members will bring items to the full board for discussion. The board will discuss, and if applicable, assign the item to the appropriate committee for review. So that's just a simple way to designate certain ideas or potential policies or changes in the budget to the finance committee or the policy committee in the future. And then we added in Article 10 to define how the invocation that we adopted last meeting, the order that it's going to go in. And I'll read it aloud. The duty to offer the invocation shall rotate among board members in the order of their district number. If a board member is absent or if the position is vacant, the next board member in the rotation shall offer the invocation. A board member may request that another board member offer the invocation in their place. The rotation continues from the last district number used regardless of substitutions or absences. Board members may defer their invocation to another member of the board. The opportunity to participate is voluntary. Invocation shall be brief and respectful, and for special and committee meetings, the invocation falls to the presiding board officer or committee chair. And this was just, it's not really new. We did discuss it a little bit last meeting. We just wanted some kind of order of operation, a procedural way to choose who does the invocation, and it was passed unanimous at the committee. It's just gonna go in order from district to district. Does the board have any questions or comments?
Public comments, David?
Fill out a yellow card, Summer Smith. Opposed, would like to speak, Wade McAllister.
Wade McAllister, Denham Springs, District 6. The only part that I am opposed to is the invocation rotating through the board members. There's actually a case, Lund versus Rowan County.
Speak louder, please.
Lund versus Rowan County. The county board's practice of allowing only board members, they were all Christian, to give invocations violated the establishment clause. Because it limited invocation duties to government officials and resulted in consistent promotion of a single religion. So I think that part of the policy should go back to just a moment of silence to avoid constitutional issues.
Moment of silence is not
Thank
what
you.
we're discussing right now, but we're discussing what order we're gonna go in, so that's not on the agenda.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Opposed, would like to speak, Jordan Gonzalez.
Good afternoon again, board. Jordan Gonzalez, Denham Springs. Like Wade, I actually only have an issue with one part of the change. Of course, it is the rotation of speakers for invocation. It's the exact same concern. I did bring it up during the policy change meeting, and I understand the vote was the way it is. But it definitely does feel like it may be, unfortunately, only representing the Christian faith in the parish. And we do have a very large parish full of different variety of opinions and ideologies. So I think it is a risky thing to be doing this. I think you're really questioning the law here, or really pushing the boundaries of the law. And I know I really don't, we're talking about, spending habits of the library. I think trying to spend it on lawsuits and lawyers and trying to figure out that probably isn't the best thing. I think a moment of silence really does settle all of that. It allows everybody from all backgrounds and beliefs to have their moment of silence and have their moment of prayer. Personally, I feel discriminated against if it's solely a Christian board, even though I believe in my own, own thing. So I just, again, I question, or I warn, I think, be careful, tread lightly here. I realize it passed unanimously. I do respect the ability to talk on it and the ability that you all did bring. But yeah, I just, if anything, maybe put an amendment up and change it so that way you can invite members from the public to a call to prayer. So that way, if somebody in the meeting does not feel represented by it, then they can come up and give their own prayer, whether they're Muslim or atheist or agnostic, Christian, of any, I can't really call it, the sections of Christianity. I just can't remember the name of the word, denominations. But yeah, so that's it for me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next one would like to speak, Larry Davis.
Again, thank you, board, Madam Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I think y'all are voting on the whole of the thing, not just the prayer thing. Thank you guys for bringing that back. We do live in the United States of America, and I know that a lot of people in this country right now are trying to tear down the foundations of what this country was built on, but without prayer, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be in this nation. We wouldn't be in this state. And I actually heard something like this. I actually read a story the other day that a city in Michigan is majority Muslim, and now they have the prayer call from the top of the city at a certain time of day. I know I'm not moving to that city, because if I move to that city, I will be outnumbered, and I'm not a Muslim, and so I'm not going to move somewhere in the United States of America where people have the right to vote and say what they believe. I'm not going to move somewhere else and force them to change their ideology because I'm outnumbered. So thank you for doing that, and don't be afraid to hide. Don't hide your Christianity under a bushel basket because of a few voices. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one would like to speak, Jerry Morgan.
Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Morgan.
Just want to let you know this very quickly, I'll take it real quick. There was a survey that came out to our parish. They want to know what our religious beliefs were. At one time, just like you would say, this is 100% of our whole tax, everybody in our parish. This is 50%, this is 50%. Well, if we come down to it, and actually Christianity, if this side is 49% and there's one person left, on this side is 49%, they are no belief whatsoever. That means there's 2%. 2% of the whole parish that was in here is their only belief they have. They could be worship a bosom, it could worship a tree, it could be a golden calf. But that's the only 2% that we have. They're not Christianity whatsoever. So the 49% that we're talking about is the ones that we are here, we're standing for it, I believe it, and please, we have to go back to what we actually believe into Christianity and our belief, because that's what I stand for, and I think that the bulk of our people here is for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
In opposition, do not wish to speak Emily Robinson. In opposition, would like to speak Marla Elsie.
Marla Elsie, Denham Springs, and this speaks to what I think is item number section 2, where y'all will all get your turns to lead the invocation. My church has a giant circle window in the sanctuary. It's huge. And when they built that into the architecture, they did it because they were inspired by a poem. This is the poem. They drew a circle that shut me out, a heretic, a rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle and took them in. It's a poem by Edwin Markham. Saying a Christian prayer is lovely for many people, but it draws a circle that leaves out so many of us standing on the outside. But a moment of silence casts a wide circle that lets everyone stand inside. Drawing that wider circle, and in this case, and in many other instances, it's an easy thing to do. It's a kind and caring thing to do. I understand that adding an invocation is surely a done deal, and nothing I say can change that. But I will say to those of you who are willing to listen and are daring enough to be brave, when it's your turn for an invocation, you are 100% entitled to choose to lead us all in a moment of silence. And what a beautiful thing that would be if more of you would choose to draw that circle wide.
Thank you. Mr. Moody, would you like to weigh in before we vote? Because I know there's been several comments tonight about the legality
Right.
of our Article 10.
I think I said at the last meeting, this is an evolving area of law. Courts have become more tolerant of a public body allowing prayer, and they can dictate some process by which that can be done. And I think your system will probably pass muster under the current case law. Not so many years ago, it wouldn't have been found with such favor. So I think what I've looked at, if you have a rotating thing and no one's required to give a Christian prayer, anybody can step out anytime they want to, I don't think you'd have any trouble defending this policy.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have one more public comment.
Opposed would like to speak Deanna Sherritt. Sherritt?
Hi, my name's Deanna Charette, and you know, out of the 20 years I served in the military, we had moments of silence, and not necessarily a specific religion if it was a group of people. I'm in support of doing moments of silence. I mean, if the military can do that, why can't we?
Thank you. All right, call for a vote.
Well, I think we need
Well,
a motion in a
motion.
second.
Nobody motioned
Just,
for
I,
it?
cause
And I
again,
do
I
have
just
one
don't
more
want to be
question.
sued. So even though the board is 100% Christian, 100% we all believe in God, we all pray to the same God, it's good. No offense to y'all, I just, I don't.
I do have one more question. You mentioned case law. I'd like to know, case law in other states versus Louisiana. We have what we go by a Napoleonic Code, is that correct?
Well, this would be federal law. So there was a case that came out of the Santa Fe School District a few years ago, I think it was 2019, whereas until then, school boards weren't allowed to say prayers before their meetings because children might have been attending. The courts had already allowed other public bodies to lead with a prayer as long as it was non-proselytizing, meaning not Christian. You could pray to God, but you were not supposed to pray and ask for in Jesus Christ's name. Like in Congress, they don't say that. It's always to the God that is worshipped by the three major religions. So, but that law said no, they're allowed now even in a school board meeting, if there was a process by which other religions could also have an opportunity to be heard, or they could be removed. So that's why I think that case is kind of, and that's in that Fifth Circuit. And we're in the same circuit as the Fifth Circuit, which is the most conservative district in the United States. And my reading of the current Supreme Court is they would affirm a ruling from the Fifth Circuit on an issue like this. So that's why I think we're probably in good shape.
May I say something real quick? I'm listening to what you guys are saying, and I have to say, y'all are asking us to be inclusive of what you believe, but then you're also being exclusive of what we stand for. So for me to get up here whenever I pray, I'm going to stay true to who I am and what I believe, and for you to ask me not to do that is wrong on your part. So it goes both ways. You see what I'm saying? This goes both ways. You can't ask me to be silent about what I stand for and then expect me to respect you in return. So you are not forced to stand in here and listen to anybody's prayer. You can step out that door and come right back in. So I think...
I was curious, if we're harassed by the public because this is our public meetings, harassed for not being the same faith, would this board be open to figuring out something different if that situation does arise at all? Because it already has happened to some extent.
I don't think anybody's going to harass you for...
Rodland was harassed.
I think we had public comment time is over, so if somebody wants to call for a vote.
Yes.
I think we need a motion.
Yeah,
I'll make
motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the amendment of policy 2202, organization bylaws for border patrol as it was presented.
I'll second it. Miss Becky?
Yes.
Miss Chris?
Yes.
Miss Rodland?
Yes.
Miss Jennifer?
Yes.
Mr. Jonathan?
Yes.
Miss Sheila?
Yes.
Miss Patricia?
Yes.
Miss Dewana?
Yes.
Mr. Shay?
Yes.
All right, moving on to policy to amend code 22028, public speaking policy at board meetings. Dustin Cotton?
Good evening, Border Control, ladies and gentlemen. I am bringing before you a proposed policy change to Code 2-202A, public speaking on board meetings. This came about because we have had some patron complaints about the colored card system, it being confusing. Basically what has happened is we've had a few people come into the meetings that have never been to one of our meetings before, may not have watched it. Our colored card system is closer to what they do in the legislature for the state, and I believe that they're more used to watching like the parish council meetings where they just get up and they sign the clipboard and then they continue on with their day. So for me, it's just, I was like, if we're gonna go ahead and propose that section. So section 1 is just to clean up some verbiage. So basically I'm trying to make it to where it's very clear that anybody who wants to be heard will be able to speak during the public comment section, which is the beginning of the agenda. But also that the board president will designate they can speak before the votes, which is what we've been doing for years. I'm trying to make that very clear in this section. Number 2 is just to clean up to public comments must relate to items listed to the meeting agenda and require a vote of the board. We already do that. That was just a rewording. Dave, if you'll scroll down to number 8 for me, please. So number 8, this is where we had a colored card system. Well, we still have a colored card system we're using tonight. Like I said, we've had some people that have complained about that or are confused about when they don't know what card system to submit for an agenda item, something like that. I will say that this system worked well for us when we had some relatively chaotic public sessions and meetings. So it has definitely served its purpose, and I know Mr. Jonathan, like he said earlier, we have this in our back pocket. If our meetings for some reason get chaotic again, we have the template for this. We can reuse it if we need to. But I think that the meetings have gotten to where that they can go along with something sort of similar to this. This is what I dropped twice, if you guys heard it in the meeting. So it's a public clipboard. It just says public speaking sign up. So basically what we're just saying is, members of the public wish to sign up, just sign the public speaking sign up sheet, which will be on a clipboard at the podium. When you come up, you put your printed name, your city of residence, and then just the agenda item you're speaking on. That would also mean too, is like if somebody wanted to speak multiple times, they could come back up here and they just put the extra agenda item next to their name. And it's easier for us for storage reasons. I've got these colored card files. We've had them for a while now. They are filling up my desk because they have to be locked up. They're public records with people's information on it. So I've got to keep them secured in my office. So anyway, that's for y'all to decide whether or not y'all want to go ahead and change this. Does anybody have any questions for me before I sit down?
I think we're good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Motion.
In support of Denali Speak, Ray McAllister. In support of Like to Speak, Jordan Gonzalez.
Good morning, or good afternoon again. This is the third time you think I would get it. Yeah, I'll be quick with this one. I think this is a great idea to change. I think the card system was a bad idea. It was convoluted. It's too much. You don't know, even into this meeting, I don't know which, put it yellow or red, depending on, the generality of the agenda. So I appreciate it. Just, go forward with it. Yep. Thank you.
Opposed would like to speak, Larry Davis.
Madam Chairman, thank you, board, again. This was actually a policy agenda I proposed that passed unanimously during my time on the board, and I think Dustin hinted at it slightly. It was to calm the amount of outbursts that were heard from the audience, and it was just to provide public information to the board just in case there was something we needed to go back, a comment that we needed to read, or also to verify addresses. So it was a good addition, and if the state is doing it, it also prepares people to not just be engaged on the local level, but also to be engaged on the state, because it is required. You can't just go fill out a sign-up sheet when you go to the state. You have to provide your name, your address to show that you are a legal resident of the area in which you live, and of course, if you're representing a large organization, you can do that as well. And I would discourage people getting up multiple times on one agenda item. That sounds like a debate. So that's just, I like the current system. I think it works very well for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Filled out a yellow card, Summer Smith. In support of Denali Speak, Marla Elsie. And that's it.
Would someone like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Who's second?
Michelle?
Robin. All right. Ms. Becky?
Yes.
Ms. Kristen?
Yes.
Ms. Rodland?
Yes.
Ms. Jennifer?
Yes.
Mr. Jonathan?
Yes.
Ms. Sheila?
Yes.
Ms. Patricia?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Trey?
Yes.
Done.
All right, moving on to Code 2205, budgeting and authorization of payment, presented by Ms. Patricia.
Okay, so the first item is just some cleanup of verbiage, where we just made it a little bit more clear on 1 and 2, 3 and 4, actually, new items that we discussed at length at our policy meeting. Just a couple of things to make it clear what process we should follow. Number 3 says the president or vice president of the Library Board of Control will notify the administrative librarian on behalf of the Board of Control concerning expenditures for legal counsel consultation. Notification of the expenditures will precede legal counsel consultation. The reason for this is simple as can be. Our administrative librarian, Ms. Michelle, is totally responsible for the budget. She is held accountable. So if we're going to hold somebody accountable for the expenditure of funds, then no one, not even a board member, should go have expenditures on the library's dollar without her knowledge. And that's just how it is. So that's what that first one's for. The second one, number 4, individual board members may not authorize library budget expenditures, period. Whether it be legal counsel or some kind of program that you want to promote, that you just take it upon yourself to go out and get materials and supplies for and hand Michelle a receipt saying, hey, pay this for me, it's for the good of the library, that wouldn't happen. Not to say that it ever has, but just in case. Let's just go ahead and get it down on paper. These are our guidelines. This includes, but is not limited to, legal counsel consultation that occurred without prior notification. This is not saying that a board member cannot seek legal counsel from our legal advisor. This is just simply saying that the administrative librarian is notified in advance, not surprised when you get a bill, but notified in advance, because she is in fact held accountable for these items. Upon notification, the administrative librarian, they'll authorize expenditure. It's not saying we have to tell Michelle what's going on, why we need legal counsel. We're just, as a courtesy, saying we need to seek legal counsel, so expect a bill. It's coming. And that helps her keep up with the budget, not be surprised on things, because we do in fact hold her accountable. That's part of her job performance, is taking care of the budget and making sure everything stays aligned. So that's what this is for. The rest of this, number 5, is just a cleanup. Thank you, Dustin, for doing that. Same thing on the next page, the word budget cleanup. When we get down to budget preparation, that too is just cleanup of verbiage to make it clearer. And every time we do a revision of a policy, if there's verbiage cleanup, grammatical errors, whatever the case may be, Dustin's going to go ahead and fix that while we have it in front of the board. So the rest of this is just simply cleanup.
Can you go back to 4 and 5 about the attorney? Can you roll that back? Mr. Moody, can you read that number 3 and number 4 and interpret that from a lawyer's perspective? Will we be able to call you if we need to, even if we just say, hey, I'm calling the attorney? Will you accept my call if I say, I emailed Michelle and now I'm calling you?
Well, I'm not going to police that, but I mean,
I need to
we
know.
take everybody's call, and we don't, and typically if it's a short question, we don't even charge for it. And it's not been a big problem from the library
No,
board through the years,
I've
only
never
in the last
called
few
you.
months.
I'm just saying, I'm happy to know you there though, if
Right.
I need to. I've never had to call you.
Right. I don't think that, going forward this is going to be a problem. I think there was a couple of months where the bills were high because there was a lot of tension and a lot of communication, and they tied us up for a good part
Most
of our
of
day.
that though was not a
so-
board member, was it?
Pardon?
Most of that expenditure was
It
not
was varied.
from a board member.
No, not
most of
most.
it.
No, not most, but a good bit of it was for a while there, so.
But most of it wasn't.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the bills, to
It
be honest.
was from a council member, wasn't it?
A lot of them were from council members,
Yeah.
that's correct.
And
But again, this does not say that you cannot call the attorney. It says, as a courtesy,
well, I'm
you
asking
will
him to
notify.
interpret that, to
Well, I
then
think they're
tell me
just
that.
trying to make it, all the information should flow through one source. So our preference is to just take questions from the board president or from the your administrative librarian, because sometimes we get called cold on the politics of it all, and they solicit our advice before we understand the whole grand scheme of things. So
Big picture.
yeah, so that's why we try to avoid that.
So when other entities, whether it's a board or the parish council, they have you on retainer, they don't go to President Delat, or they don't go to Billy Taylor, President of the council, they just call you.
Well, that's a good question. There was a time when we asked us to reduce our retainer somewhat, and we said, well, we can do that if we don't have to do research and prepare ordinances for individual single councilman, because they would come to us, want us to do a turnkey ordinance ready to be introduced, and it turns out no one else would even vote for it. Well, all that time was lost. So we agreed to reduce our retainer to the council if we didn't have to go through that process. Well, the council didn't like that. They wanted that extra level of service, so they paid us a little more, and we still do it that way. But they have been asked to, you know, be smart about how to use that service. And so that we don't have to waste time on ordinances that have no chance of passing. So typically will come from a committee or something like that, so.
And Mr. Moody, I know you just mentioned that some of the former bills that are being referenced here were by a council member. that are accrued and have been given to us. Michelle, are you going to plan to send those on to the council for them to pay them versus us
I
to
think
pay for them?
Jonathan had reached out about that, so I need to follow up with him on exactly how we were gonna do that.
I'd like to pursue that as soon as possible.
Yeah, I believe we were emailed at some point.
Look, we want you to be happy with the level of service you're getting, and we want to make sure our prices and fees are reasonable and low. I think they are compared to similar qualities of service you can get. So, and if you have any question about the bill, our response is the customer is always right. If you think it's not right, or the estimate or the charge is too high, we always make it right, so.
And this is not about your billing process or anything like that. It's
No.
simply about Michelle is held accountable for the budget. So as a courtesy, we need to notify her that a bill is coming
But
through.
it doesn't say to notify her, it says that it has to be authorized.
It says
It says it
notify
has
the
to-
administrative librarian on behalf of the control concerning expenditures.
And then it says they will authorize it, so we're gonna wait 6 weeks before we get an
No,
authorization. to
individual
call the
board
attorney.
members may not authorize library budget expenditures. So you can't take it upon yourself and go expend money for this library and expect it to be paid. You're gonna get a bill, period.
So who's in charge of this library, the board or the employee?
Who's in charge of the budget?
The board?
board.
The board. The board is in charge of the budget.
Who's held accountable for
No
making that?
employee, no government employee that has a board over them tells the board what they do.
It doesn't say that you cannot. go
It
to
does.
the
It
There's
said-
attorney.
money in the budget for an attorney.
Upon,
fee, for
upon
legal fees.
notification to the administrative librarian, they will authorize the expenditure. So before I can call Mr. Moody, I have to be authorized. Is that right?
That's the way I read that, yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's what we found.
Nobody, listen, this board is the board of control.
We are.
We are.
Yeah, but we're your boss, right?
The
No,
council.
actually, hold on, let me finish. Actually, Joe Erdy is, all right? So, Joe Erdy can fire me. Well, actually, 5 council members
Yeah,
can
I'm about to
fire me.
say.
And so Joe Erdy can vote for me. So the 9 council members in charge of me, and here's the bottom line, is this.
No comment from the public
Hey.
yet.
Point of order,
We'll
please.
give the
Please.
public turn in a
Yes.
second.
Yes.
Trey, I think what will fix the issue is if we change it from a will to a shall in number 4. And Becky and I discussed this the other day, that last sentence there, upon notification to the administration librarian, they shall authorize the
So
expenditure, which
what-
means
how-
she doesn't
so
have
can
a
we-
choice.
can we
It's
add
a
a-
must.
can we-
I think the only thing they're trying to do here, Trey, is
I
a
know what they're trying-
notification.
I know what they're trying to do.
There's a notification so that you're tracking your expenditures. She
I'm aware
knows,
of
she knows this bill is coming, so you don't get hit with another
$12,000.
$14,000
I mean,
attorney bill.
Everybody's been saying they want us to be transparent, and I feel like this is probably the straightest way to be
Have a way
transparent.
to funnel you.
Yeah, and I understand
Yes.
that, but we also
do.
need some restraint that, let's just say yesterday, I had a legal question about tonight's agenda. I email, say, look, I'm reaching out for legal advice. If I gotta wait for the authorization, I
You
could.
don't wait for an authorization.
Well, that's what it says, they
That's
will
exactly what it
authorize the
says.
expenditure.
You have to be, it has to be authorized.
It's got to be authorized.
So if she doesn't authorize it, we're not gonna be able to call it.
But if we change it, just like Jennifer said,
Say
to the word
shall.
shall.
It's not
I
optional.
still gotta wait for it.
Authorize is
I still gotta wait for it.
Authorize is still there.
I still gotta wait for it.
See, I read it as your part. You notified her, she
Tomato,
knows it's
tomato, I
coming,
mean,
you don't have to wait for anything.
I think
Your
he's,
job's done.
I think he's referring to the
That's why
last
we
sentence
asked
in
Mr.
number
Moody
3.
to interpret
In
that
number
for us.
three.
And he says that's how he reads it.
Notification of expenditure will proceed.
It just says notification. I think he's talking about the last sentence in number 4.
So you don't like the last sentence in number 4, is that what
Right.
you're saying?
Well, I think he's talking about both of them together. He's worried about if he were to contact somebody yesterday, and they didn't get back in time, would he still be able to contact the lawyer if the notification had to precede the legal,
See,
contacting the legal
that's the way I
counsel?
read, that's the way I understood it when I saw it. I'm just gonna notify Jennifer, hey, I'm doing this. I'm not waiting on her to tell me okay or no.
Right.
I'm just, as a courtesy to her, because she's in charge of budgets, I'm
But you
just
will
saying,
if Mr. Moody says, I'm sorry, Michelle hasn't called me to authorize that.
Nowhere in here does it say that you have to
He
call.
already said that's not the way it
That's the
works.
first thing he
That's
said.
not how it reads.
That's the first thing he said, though. He said, I'm not going to dictate that.
But then he said, it sounds like that to me. You have
And
to
I
be
got
authorized.
another question.
All right, I'm gonna call the question. We're gonna need public comment before we make a motion one way or the other.
In support, General Speak, Evan Robinson. In support, Black Speak, Jordan Giles.
Good afternoon again, got it right that time. So I think this is a good idea. We talk about fiscal responsibility, being conservative spending. I think trying to be careful on how much money is spent on legal is very, very important. I think through PRR we know, or I know at least, that it costs about $1,000 per meeting to have a lawyer here. So I think if you have legal questions, probably best not to call before the meeting, wait until the meeting where there's public transparency, where everybody can figure out what's going on. And then again, if if you're questionable whether it's legal or not, I like to do this thing back when I went to Walker High. St. Pierre had a saying about free dress days. If it's questionable whether or not you should do it, go ahead and just don't wear it, because it's better to just be safe than to not do it. I think this is stemming from certain individuals accidentally running up a check without anybody knowing, and then that check getting surprised to Michelle. I don't think that's good conservative spending. I think we have to be careful. I don't want to see my taxpayer money wasted on useless conversations with lawyers. All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Would like to speak to Yellow Card, Summer Smith.
Hi there, Summer Smith. I think it's very important that each and every one of y'all are able to reach out to the lawyer. I mean, that's just, there's no other board that, in this parish, I've actually asked a bunch of boards, they're all able to reach out to their legal counsel. I mean, they're the lawyers for y'all, not Michelle. And how do you invoice? Do you send them invoices monthly?
Yeah, we send out monthly invoices.
Then why is that an issue? I don't understand.
Nowhere
I mean-
in here does it say that you cannot. You just need the courtesy of notifying
Well,
the person.
the language on there just doesn't look appropriate. I mean, it's all about the language that's written, guys. I mean, y'all have to be very careful on the things that y'all vote for, and y'all might find yourself needing a lawyer and end up against the wall and would really like, some legal counsel. And that's very important, especially in the library when we've got children that we continue to want to protect. So therefore, that will stifle the voice if my appointment cannot contact legal counsel and has to go through Michelle. What if it has something to do with Michelle? I mean, come on, guys, think about this. This is for y'all's safety and for everybody else's. Y'all need to be able to reach out to the lawyer. I mean, that's
That's a question I just asked Mr. Moody, because you said that. We need to be able to reach out to him, and I agree with that. He said to me, you don't think this limits my access to you?
No, because, I mean, we will take everybody's call. But certain things, you as a single board member only have so much authority. So we're sensitive to that. So you say, go research this, write a memo about this, draft some resolutions about this or not. Typically, we want that to come from a majority vote of the board. We will answer simple questions and help you. This is how you should style the motion, or this is what the law is about that. We're always happy to do that. And I don't think anybody on this board has abused that. There were a couple in the past that might have, but it does make sense to, if you had a rogue member that wanted to start engaging us to do all kind of work, and that it's not really the sentiment of the entire board, we'd be sensitive to that. So that's what we're trying to avoid.
David, I see you have one more card.
Yes, it's for would like to speak more LC.
Marla LC, Denham Springs. This doesn't prevent you from reaching out to the lawyer at all, in any way, the way this is written. You can still reach out to the lawyer. It's just a notification to Jennifer I should say, the president and the administrative librarian. That's it. That's all it is. It's just a notification. It's not asking for permission, it's not blocking you from reaching out to the lawyer in any way. It's just adding a layer of notification and transparency. If you are working on something that you want to bring to the board and you are so worried that it might be illegal, that you think you need to go talk to the lawyer without telling the president and the administrative librarian, then it might be time to rethink what it is you're about to bring to the board. You shouldn't be bringing things to the board that are so scary, you need to hide it from the rest of the board and go straight to the librarian. So all this does is say you notify them, and then automatically you're good, you've got the permission, now you can go talk to them. That's it.
Thank you. And I saw we had a new entry.
Opposed, like Larry Davis.
Madam Chairman, Board, somebody spoke about looking forward. Mr. Moody may not be your attorney all the time. Once it's written on that sheet of paper, it's going to be enforced. The board sets the policy. If the attorney says that it's not required or he's not going to enforce it, don't put it in writing. Also, in fiscal responsibility and transparency, if your employee is now requiring you to receive invoices or to ask for authorization, then every time she swipes that MasterCard that she has or fills up the gas tank, you need to get an email notification saying, hey, I just bought some gas. Hey, we just bought 50,000 books. Hey, if you're required to do this, because that's one line item. The lawyer is one line item. $12,000 is not a lot compared to the other budget line items that I've seen on that budget sheet. So if your employee is now requiring you to submit authorization, you better enforce your power and make sure every time she swipes that card, you're getting a notification. That way when September or whenever you review the budget comes up, you know exactly what was spent. Thank you.
All right, would somebody like to make the motion?
Gotta fill out a card.
Oh, I've
You did
already
not.
voted. I don't have to anymore, do I?
You don't have to
Yeah,
card.
after, yeah.
Huh? Do I need to fill out a card?
Or just sign the clipboard?
Oh, we passed that.
We passed
We did, but it's not the beginning of the next meeting. I think either one would be appropriate.
So I had a quick question. So I ask you, right? So is there a budget for legal expenses?
A budget
We do
line
have a-
item?
We do have
Yes,
a budget
a
line
certain
item
Yes.
for legal, yes.
So did you recently go over the budget?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet. Is the year over? When does the year end?
For us, we're January to December, so.
So are you closed?
Yeah.
Yeah, so potentially, if you didn't know, you would get a bill that would be beyond what you have left to spend. That's all I wanted to know. Here, I'm gonna fill this out. Okay.
We give it to David for his records.
Add it to Dustin's drawer. Call for a motion.
Call for a motion?
Ms.
I make
Becky?
a motion.
Okay.
And I'll second
Second.
it.
I'd like to make a substitute motion, please.
Okay. Vote for the first one first?
No.
Substitute, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a substitute motion to send this back to the policy for, to review some of the wording on this, since there's a lot of controversy over the wording. And perhaps get Mr. Moody's advice on it, spend a little of that money to help us word it, because, to make sure everyone's protected on this.
All right.
I'll
all right.
second it.
Okay.
All right, so we're voting on a substitute motion to send it back to
Back
committee?
to the committee.
And then we vote on the other motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Depending
If
on how
this
they-
one-
If-
if this one
if
fails,
this
then
fails.
yes. All right, Ms. Becky?
No.
Ms. Kristen?
Yes.
Ms. Rodlin?
No.
Ms. Jennifer?
No.
Mr. Jonathan?
Yes.
Ms. Sheila?
No.
Ms. Patricia?
No.
Ms. Dewana?
Yes.
Mr. Trey?
Yes.
Okay. It's no, so
All right, so the substitute motion fails, so go back to voting
to
for
the
the
motion.
actual motion.
Yes, so that was Becky and Ms. Rodlin, you still, okay.
Can I
Madam
move to make
Chair,
an additional substitute motion?
Sure.
Yes.
I'd like the first in number 3 to change notification to notification to the vice president or vice president. And that way it'll be clear on who gets notified. And then I'd like to remove the first line and a half of number 4 and change the last sentence of number 4 that says shall record instead of shall authorize. And that way
Shall do what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
shall record instead of shall authorize.
Okay.
And that way,
So can you read out
It's the same.
what you want number 3 to say?
yes. So number 3 would say, the president or vice president of the Library Board of Control will notify the administrative librarian on behalf of the Board of Control concerning expenditures for legal counsel consultation. Notification of the expenditure, or notification to the vice president, or, I'm sorry, notification of the president or vice president of the expenditure will precede legal consultation. And that way there's no time frame. I know that was your concern. That way it gets rid of the time frame in between
Okay.
being notified. And then at the end of number 4, instead of saying shall authorize, it will say shall record. So she'll be notified of the budget expenditure. It doesn't sound like it restricts the board from needing authorization.
It seems to me that number 4 is saying individual board members may not authorize library budget expenditures. So that means that whenever the budget comes up for review, even individual board members may not authorize library board, well, you're only an individual when you vote. I have one individual vote, so do you. So,
But one vote can't authorize anything.
So
that's
my,
right.
my substitute motion
So
removes
that has to go before the whole board.
the beginning of number 4. So that's no longer.
How do you want number 4 to read?
That the, upon notification of the administrative, to the administrative librarian, they shall record
So you
the
want to
expenditure.
combine 3 and 4 together, deleting the first 2
Record means
sentences of 4
authorize.
and keeping the last sentence of 4.
And
but
then changing the last
authorized
sentence
to
from, instead of will authorize, shall record.
John,
John.
you replace and record. You're replacing authorize with record, which is the same thing.
No, it's not.
It is.
Record is more of a bookkeeping, authorize,
Take a note.
sounds like
Permission.
authority or
Permission.
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 Record would mean she just records the expenditure, just like she does with
So
all.
she'll write it down in a book
bookkeeping.
somewhere,
Correct.
basically.
Mhm.
Not authorize it, but just write down
Correct.
somewhere that,
To be expecting a bill, basically. So your substitute motion is to keep number 3 as is, but to change the last sentence to notification
To the president or vice president.
adding that in there of the expenditures.
Of the
In number
expenditures.
4, delete sentences 1 and 2, and that last sentence say, upon notification to the administrative librarian, they will record the expenditure.
Correct.
so.
Is there a
from-
second?
All right, would somebody like to
I will
second
second it.
Jonathan's? All right,
Jonathan, did the policy committee, I haven't listened to the meeting because it just got posted today in Dallas.
5 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Did the policy committee even try to attempt to know that Mr. Moody is for the board? The legal expenditures of that budget for him, he's for this board. Did the policy committee work on anything to give the freedom to a board member that if we got $9,000 for expenditures, that a board member, that maybe a board member has $1,000 a year to go spend?
So we did discuss that. We actually talked about that for a couple minutes, and we decided that if we were going to come up with a policy that allocated a certain amount of money, we would have to communicate with the finance committee to authorize that as a budget expenditure along with a related policy, that we couldn't do it by ourselves, especially
Because
during the year.
we're restricting ourselves to do something as a legal board, and that's crazy. We are a legal board following law, and here, we're not authorized to contact our legal advisor.
you're authorized to do anything as long as you contact
No, it says
me.
individual board members may
or
not
a vice
authorize
president or
library
Becky.
budget expenditures.
Did you not hear the motion just now?
So
It's
you're talking about the
substitute
original,
motion.
my substitute motion.
Yeah,
we
we're
removed
talking about the
that.
substitute motion right now.
Okay.
Can I say this? Can I please say this? The policy meeting, we were told that, they can, other board members should not attend the policy board or other committees because that would create a quorum. So therefore, they don't get to come and listen in.
But then
And
we
then
were
wait,
told by
And then the
Trey,
recording was not posted today until around 5:30, that we, because we checked several times during the day, couldn't
I
couldn't
emailed
find the recording.
Dustin and he
So they haven't
emailed
even
it to
had a
me in
chance to listen
10
to it.
minutes.
So I'm asking if, again, if maybe we can bring that motion back up to send it back to the policy committee and let us reword it and bring it back where everybody can hopefully agree on it.
And I just want to say something else for the record. I mean, for what it's worth, because I know half of this tension is surrounded around me, and that's fine. I can handle it. Number one, when the email came out asking who this charge was, I owned up to it. Our board president knew I had been talking to legal. Okay? So I just want to let everybody know that other people knew. I had 5 councilmen knew what I was working on. And I'd also like to know, Mr. Moody, how much did we get charged for the letter you sent to us Thursday? So let's just not put Trey into the loop here. And who authorized that expenditure? Obviously, we don't have the policy in play right now, but somebody told Mr. Moody to write us a letter. And I'm sure you charged us. That was a big letter.
I don't,
But that has nothing to do.
I've heard that
It
there
does,
was.
because it also says this. Where is the authorization of the employee? Employees can go freely talk to our legal advice, but the board can't? This don't make no sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's backwards. It needs to go back to policy.
all right, we have a substitute motion we need to vote on now.
Yeah, his
And
motion's still
back
on the
in-
table, yeah.
If it doesn't work, then
Right, Ms. Becky?
I think we already voted to table it, and it failed, so we either have to vote for the substitute motion or the original motion.
I'd like to reword my substitute motion.
But yours already
He has a motion on the table first.
So
We have to-
Jonathan's
we have
on
to
the
do
table
this one.
currently.
Jonathan's on the table first.
This is for Jonathan's?
This is
Yes.
for Jonathan's
Okay.
substitute motion.
Miss Becky?
Yes.
Miss Kristen?
Yes.
Miss Rodlin?
Yes.
Sorry,
Hold on.
Miss Jennifer?
Yes.
Mr. Jonathan?
Yes.
Miss Sheila?
Yes.
Miss Patricia?
Yes.
Miss Dewana?
No.
And Mr. Trey?
No.
Okay, it passed.
Okay, next item up from Ms. Becky Morgan is an update on the process of reviewing and relocating young adult materials.
Yes, I'm sure y'all know we moved the young adult section months and months ago. Miss Julia, you have a quick, how we doing?
We're doing great.
I always say that. Good evening, board members. For our new board member, if you're not aware, in January, we moved all the YA materials for young adult materials to the adult side, and we're reviewing every single items to meet the law 225 something. I don't remember the whole law's name. But anyway, just to review, in March 18th board meeting, we have complete close to 2,000 books. That's 20% of what of a whole 10,000 title is. And by today, this week, we reviewed a total of 6,253 titles. That's equals about 63%. We have done 63% of around 10,000 titles. So we're well on track. It is a very time-consuming project. It takes a little bit longer than we thought, but right now we're at 63%. As we introduce summer reading start register this week, and the most difficult part of summer reading is the first month. So starting next week in June is the most kids, most participants, most programming going on. So during that time, our project will have to slow down some. We're still going to work on that, but just because how many people will walk through the door every day, just really hard for the branch people to catch up with changing labels and everything. So it's going to be a little bit slower, but we will still carry on reviewing and all that stuff. So that's where we're at right now. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much for your diligence.
Well, thank you. Well, thank all the staff,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
every
Please
staff.
thank all the
Yeah,
staff
is
for that.
pulling their weight, you know, with
Because
this
once we get this
process.
behind us, then as new books come in, we have a better idea of what we want to look for.
Yes, absolutely.
That's gonna help the book
Absolutely.
situation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other question? Thank you.
Thank you.
Since it's just an update, do we need to have public comment on that? Okay. And the last item for this evening by Mr. Trey Cowell is a discussion about whether Livingston Parish Library Board of Control committee meetings should be video recorded or live streamed. Mr. Trey?
Yeah, so what started this conversation, as we probably know, what started it was the question of whether or not board members could attend committee meetings that weren't on that particular committee. And so we have since learned that we can sit in the audience silently as long as we don't, engage into the conversation or persuade a vote or anything of that nature. So that's what started the conversation is well, if we're not there, then we need to be able to see what's going on. Not just that, but things have, I've learned things even since then, and I think the public would be extremely happy of this as well. And I think live stream is probably the proper way. That way, when it's done, it stays up on YouTube. You're not dependent upon somebody having to go upload it and all of those things. That it's, when the meeting's done, it's still there, just like this meeting is tonight. And so I think the public would be in favor of such a thing, to be able to have transparency. A lot of our committee meetings are happening during work hours. And I believe that these microphones and this setup is a lot more conducive to listening to our committee meetings rather than just a tape recorder in front of the chairman. So I would like to encourage us to have our committee meetings live stream, and you get people like to watch things sometimes rather than listen, some people, so that would be my recommendation.
Do we have public comment?
Yes, one. Opposed would like to speak to Jordan's house.
Good afternoon. So again, I put a Reddit card in, but I'm not like fully against it. I think if it's already being recorded, I think a live stream is actually a great idea for the exact reasons that you mentioned. It's like immediately uploaded, and then also it's ease of access. People all the time, I think it's on Vimeo right now where it's streamed. It's like a hard service. My only question would be, would this also be included for like the subcommittee meetings, like the finance meeting and the policy meeting? And if that's the case, if it is that going to cost extra? Like, you're going to have equipment, an employee, all that type of stuff? Okay, so then that would be what I would be opposed to. I think the recording, if they're coming through and you can hear everybody, is probably a good alternative. I think maybe just figuring out how to get them quicker online. I think the new way of looking at it, like the on-demand service for the videos recordings, it's like super, super easy on the website. So that's just my opinion. I just would like us to, not spend too much money on trying to get it, but if it's minuscule or anything like that, then it is what it is. Thank you.
I listened to the audio-only file today from the last finance and the last policy meeting, and I could hear everything everybody said, including the members of the audience. So
There were some things that were put on the screen that
Yes, that's two, yes.
you couldn't see, of course.
Oh, the policy committee?
But the live stream over there, is it catching the screen? Yeah, it's not even catching the screen now with what we're
Well,
live streaming
we
out.
would make sure that it does on the committee meetings if we're gonna use the screen.
Is it like a big expenditure, like?
Well, we have it should stay, if we're gonna do those policy meetings, shouldn't, go around, because that equipment stays here. Unless for just the board meetings, we have to do it in Denham. We don't like to move this equipment around because it's costly. It requires Misty to be here to do it, because she's the one who runs it. So that's making sure that she would be at every meeting, which she's not required to do now. Or training someone else to do it. So, I mean, it's not doable, but it's,
Sorry. So I'd like to make a motion that we live stream all of our committee meetings on our YouTube channel.
I second that.
Okay,
Yeah, the main one still is.
Miss Becky?
No.
Miss Kristen?
Yes.
Miss Roslyn?
No.
Miss Jennifer?
No.
Mr. Jonathan?
Yes.
Miss Sheila?
No.
Miss Patricia?
No.
Miss Dewana?
Yes.
Mr. Trey?
Yes.
It's a no.
I do have a question as a follow-up to his idea. How difficult would it be to get the audio version out quicker,
Yeah.
more expediently? I mean, I know it's a lot of
Yeah.
work to do such, but could that be a compromise if we could just get that out as quickly as possible?
This was the only one that we had not gotten out sooner because I'm the one who runs the website, and I've been on maternity leave, so that's the only reason why.
And-
Hey, that's the only reason why this
Yeah.
one was not up sooner, so that.
Gotcha.
And I will say,
Make sure that doesn't
when
happen.
when the new website gets up and running, it'll be organized better and easier to operate. Right now, the one that we have is so very sensitive. If you go in and delete the wrong thing, you can delete the whole website, which we've had happen and had to get them to put it back up. And that took a lot of time and a lot of energy. This thing is, it's not user-friendly at all, so that's why we're moving to a new website. So,
Temperamental.
you know, yeah, it's, so not having David do it is very touchy.
Okay.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else on the agenda, do I have a motion to adjourn?
My motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
All right.
Y'all.